Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen. I'm in Georgia. I'm in Macon, Georgia. Macon bacon. We're making bacon in Macon, Georgia. Macon, Georgia, whatever. But I found some Native American mounds. There's lots of Native American mounds in Georgia too. A lot of Cherokee nation lived in Georgia, and once again, crazy Native American civilization in sight. And what do we have right on top of it? Civil War battlefield. It seems like everywhere the Native Americans lived here in the South during the Civil War, we shed blood on those mounds. And if you see here, the Dunlap House is right over there, and I see we got one of the park rangers over there. But another crazy Civil War battle happen on top of Native American sites. Pretty crazy. The more I go to these, it's the same thing every single time. Civil War site, bam, Native Americans. Pretty crazy. It is a beautiful day. A little bit crisp, but look at that. Not a cloud in the sky. Really beautiful. We've been driving back from Miami back to Nashville, and I'm just making some stops, checking out some cool stuff I really want to see. But here we go. Here's some old photos of what it looked like back then. Here's the generals. There's the house. Little map. Some other guys, the Dunlap family. It's a 400-acre cotton plantation right here. And you can see the house back there. Now, the cool thing is on these sites, the park rangers, they get to live here. They live on the sites, to help protect and preserve. And it looks like the park ranger actually gets to live in the Dunlap house here. That's pretty awesome. But let's go see some Native American mounds. My favorite, besides caves. Are all the mounds you got to walk to them?
Not all of them. You could drive over to the Great Temple Mound.
Yeah,
you
I saw
do
that one
have to
online.
walk up to the top of that one. If you're wanting to actually do that, you do have to walk up to it. But that's our tallest mound, so it's 55 feet tall. Football field's right at its base, and it has an amazing view from up there. The Lesser Temple Mound's right next to it, and at the very end of that road, it's a dead end, so it'll just loop you back around. Is our funeral mound, which is the only burial mound we actually have here on site.
The only burial mound.
Okay.
So unlike other mound sites, the mounds we built here were primarily platform mounds, so meaning they're completely filled with dirt and flat on top, but they would actually build structures and live up there. So very similar to what that picture is showing right up there.
So, who built them?
It was built 1,000 years ago, but in the Mississippian period, the prominent tribal nation that lived in this area was the Muskogee Creek. There were various other tribal nations that did live in the area. We do consult with around 13 tribes, but the Muskogee Creek is the largest and most connected to this land here. So,
Did they say they built them?
they believe their ancestors did, yes.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They don't know who built them.
Well, they're pretty sure it was their ancestors because their ancestors were the ones that were living here during the time that DeSoto and those first explorers were passing through the area.
And what date
And
was
that
that?
was-
Like 1600s?
That was the 1500s was when the first Spanish explorer traveled through the area.
DeSoto, he was the major guy, huh?
Well, he was an explorer, he was a conqueror.
And he was
searching
looking for gold. Yeah,
That's
looking for
right.
gold.
And he was actually trying to explore Florida and rumors brought him further north, and he eventually traveled up through Georgia, over to the Mississippi, and actually died in his quest for gold over there in.
I've heard his story.
I've read about it.
Yeah. So, during his explorations and the one right before him, which was I think like 10, 15 years before he even set foot or thought about coming to the new lands, they came through and actually notated that the mound building culture was still here and prominent. But to them, they were just savages, so there wasn't nobody really focused in on
what they were doing.
Yeah, who they were, what their culture was.
So this site here was excavated heavily in the 1930s. That's when most of them were excavated in the 1930s by the Smithsonian, and no telling. But look at this case of just artifact after artifact and how it's categorized. Yeah, as you can see, this place was excavated. Okay, we made it to some of the mounds. You can see the big one over there, over 60 feet high off the ground. And I was talking to the park ranger, the same as all the park rangers. They say the same thing. We don't really know who built these. The Native Americans that we got in contact with, 1500s, 1600s, said they were already here. But right here where I'm standing, this was a Native American mound that was excavated in the 1930s. But during the Civil War, this trench here was made by the Confederate Army to fight. So they would have been down here in this trench, huddled down through the woods, shooting through there. And I tell you, the history of Civil War on these mounds is insane. Every single one that I go to, it's the same thing. And this was one of the mounds that was excavated here. So this would have been up high, just like those over there. But let's go climb those over there and see what those, what the view from up there is. Now we are in Georgia. There are alligators here. And there's a river here and lakes and ponds. And when you get close, you gotta watch out for gators. Wow, it is so beautiful here. Now this is the little pond by the little river that that the Native Americans, huge mounds right here. Now these would have been the Creek Indians, and then the ones that predated them. But there are gators here in this water. You got to really watch out when you're walking around here, so you don't come across a gator. But yeah, they're all in there. And the Native Americans, their big mounds are right on the other side right here. And they would have had access to this water, food source and all that would have been right here behind. And the amount of work, this community here is pretty extensive. One of the bigger ones that I've been at, just how spread out it is and how much they built. Because this embankment right here was all built by them too. That goes all the way back to these huge mounds that we're about to climb over here. So they wouldn't have had to walk far to get water and food from down here, but they built up really high over there to get away from the gators and the snakes and stuff like that. So this field right here is where they would play their games, and they had a ball game they would play. And the mound right over there, that's the burial mound. So there was only one burial mound on this whole site because all of these they lived on top of them. So you should get a pretty good sight from up here. Okay, made it to the top. And man, here I am on top of another ancient Native American mound. This one's huge. My God, this one's huge. Come over here. Right over there was that little lake that I was at. And then right over here on the edge is you'll see the burial mound. And in the open field that's down there. Over there is where they excavated in the Civil War trenches. Looks like we got more burial mounds over there. The city of Macon, Georgia is that way. What do you think, being on top of a mountain like this?
I can see why they would do this.
Why they would live like this.
Everything in a really heavily wooded place where if you're on the ground you can't see anything, there's so many trees. Up here, you can see
Everything.
Anything coming.
So you can see why they would use smoke signals.
Yeah.
So if you had another group that was way over there, they'd put a
to each
smoke signal and they would
It all makes
be able to
sense.
tell you from a distance. My God, is it beautiful. So I'm getting up close to 20 ancient Native American settlements that I've been to throughout Tennessee and Georgia and Florida. So I've been to a bunch of them. This one's really big. This one's really huge. This is a huge, huge mound. And the city, it just goes for a long way. There's a bunch of mounds in this little property right here. And it's amazing that it's still here. You know, when you go to Europe and the rest of the world, mostly everything's been built on top of everything. Everything's been built on top of, built on top of, built on top of. But not here in America. We have ancient history that is just as it was when they made it thousands of years ago. See, the river runs right down here at the bottom of this big mound. And this was like the perfect spot to live. I swear. This was literally the perfect spot to live and be amongst nature. Truly beautiful. Truly amazing. America, you are beautiful. Well, that was this is called Emperor Mound here in Macon, Georgia. If you're ever in this area, you want to come see some really awesome Native American site and culture right here in Macon, Georgia. Really beautiful. And I've done a bunch of these Native American sites, and they blow my mind every single time that I come to them. They're so beautiful, so perfect, and you know, pretty much a culture and lifestyle that was wiped away from history. But here we are. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Almost as beautiful as my beautiful wife. But we're headed back to Tennessee now, and we're still driving. I got one special thing that I'm going to be doing, and that's paying homage to the Action Adventure twins and going to Petty John Cave. So that's the next stop before I go home, Petty John Cave. I'm Petro. That's the dog named Petro. And we're out. Okay, I just want to put it in perspective. The girl Michaela, the park ranger here at the park, she gave me this map that shows you where all the Native American mounds are on the east side of the United States. And each little black dot is where a Native American, not a mound, an actual settlement would have been. So take a look at this. Each black dot is a settlement. Look at all of them. Insane. And then in one moment, with the swoop of a pen, Andrew Jackson kicked them all out to this side of the Mississippi. That is just incredible, the amount. Just incredible. Kind of crazy that you can see the three like stages of life, that this is the burial mound here, and this is a living quarter, and the big living quarter that they lived on top of. So there was life, and then the death, and you can see it all in one motion here. And this was their town. They lived here for a long time.
Oh ya ya we hey, ya ya, 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 we ya, ho we hey, ya we, ho we, oh ya ya we hey, ya ya, oh ya ya we hey. Ya ya, go ya we hey. Ya ya, go ya we hey. Ya ya, we ya, ha we hey.